G'day everyone, welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. I'll be Nat, this will be my Knackers Yard of sorts because I'm having to do it as a voiceover again because my phone or the app didn't record any pissing audio. I've just had to take a brief break so you didn't hear one of my kids flushing the loo. It's been a weird day and a day with kind of major setbacks as usual, as I tend to find within this project and within this channel. I had a big session this morning. I didn't film it because I was really redoing bits that I tried last time when I managed to snap the camshaft on this. I got it all set up, got it all good to go. Went round to roll the engine forward, going from the T, the top dead centre, to the C, which is what you use to tighten up the cam belt tensioner. And I noticed nothing moved, which I thought was a bit weird, so carried on moving it. Ultimately, I worked out that the chain had actually come off of the bottom sprocket, so the cam chain wasn't attached. Now, I swore for a little while, then fortunately I had to go and pick up one kid from a club, and whilst I was wandering along I just thought, well, because I couldn't get the chain hook back on, I thought, well, if I try taking out the cam guide at the front, which you can snurgle out through the frame, I might be able to get the chain reattached. Did exactly that, give it a bit of a jiggle, managed to get the chain attached. That was a relief. I'm also still quite snotty, so that took a fair amount of work to get that back on. It did make me think about some of the bits that you guys have suggested. One of the bits you suggested was just confirming tolerances between the cams that were with it, i.e. the inlet cam that I broke, and the one that replaced it. So I say the tolerance is the wear, because obviously, you know, exhaust and inlet have worn together, but in this case I'm putting in cams that haven't worn with this engine, so it's just worth a check. So I've got the old one here, i.e. the snapped one, that's coming in at 249-ish, 249 and a shade. I'll measure the replacement ones that I've got. You'll see they come in pretty much the same. A couple of you guys were saying that there's no cam journals. The cam journals have got no shells on this engine. There are around the bearings, around the main bearings, but on an engine this age, it's more tolerant, so it's less of an issue. But you know, while I've got the two to compare, it's worthwhile comparing. And as you can see with my terrible camera work, my terrible framing, and the occasional non-focus, that when I do get it in place, 249 and a bit, so you know, is there or thereabouts, which frankly is good enough for me. A bit of a nugatory system, because you know, if they were far out, what was I going to do? I don't have any other camshafts to chuck in. I was going to use them anyway, but it's worthwhile just doing that confirmatory check. Now each camshaft has got, oh come on focus, it's got two lobes on it, which the bolts go through that hold on the cog at the top, the timing cog. What I'm trying to show here is that it's really to get them to line up, so they slip onto that like shoulder, if you like, at the top. It only goes on one way. The bit that you are particularly looking for is two raised sections on the actual cog itself. I'll just get you in a better position to see, and it's really a case of looping it round, re-looping to try and get the timing in the right place for it to work. More of that to follow. This is just really getting them in, so getting them in place so that I can clamp down the actual camshaft itself. So it's just getting it in, getting the cam chain looped round, getting all the gash out of the way. I really wish I'd taken all the coils etc off, but and it's then just clamping it down. So this is a bit of a confirmatory check and a sanity check more than anything else before I start clamping them down. Look, when I turn the engine over, the chain moves. Now that's not where I was a couple of hours ago, so now I've confirmed that. It's just really a case of whipping round and doing them up to the correct torque. I have cheated slightly. I did use a power tool to get them down to start with, but it's just getting it down flat and even rather than clamping it all the way down. The book does actually suggest doing it to a half torque all the way round and then full torque afterwards, which I have to confess I didn't do this time, but it was doing it gently and carefully. Now you can see the little timing marks, the little dots that you can spot just there and there. It's close, frankly, on a natural lay. So before I go torque down proper all the way down on all of the camshaft journals, it's a case of getting them, you know, like I say halfway down, you know, roughly halfway down, not fully torqued, let's put them that way, but down, and then getting in there to try and get those nice and straight and nice and timed. The book makes a big deal about this, about getting them on. So it's a 22 spanner on it. You've just got to be really careful of those edges. So if you accidentally clout one or push too far, you're going to ruin the edges on your aluminium casing. So it is gently catchy monkey. You're only talking moving a couple of mil here, but if you wrestle a big heavy spanner against the edge of an aluminium casing, you are going to ruin your seal. So I am being pretty careful here, or as careful as that can be, to try and get those lined up without crushing the edge of the casing of the engine. So that's the exhaust done. Moving on to the inlet side, just being really careful that I don't crush the edges of a, I say soft, relatively soft aluminium casing with a big fat spanner, with a 22 spanner. What I really could do with is something a little bit lighter, but I don't have it. Right, so I'm happy. It's now a case of lining up everything, and as I said before about the cog, you can see there's the little like square bracket around some of the cogs. There you go, good view there, well done unit. They're the ones you want to bolt through. Do not put it the wrong way round. Ask me how I know. And it needs to be seated on that shoulder, spun round so that the lobes on the camshaft line up as I've just done there, with the slightly meatier elements there. Now, it is just a case of flipping around on the cam and moving and moving and moving. I have to admit that I did do this twice. I did it once, reread the book, and it said about how you want to try and keep the chain taut as possible between the two cogs, and I hadn't quite done it, so I did do it twice. And I'm happy in the end. I'd rather piss around with it now and do it twice rather than put it all back together and have to do it a third time. So that's all nicely done. It really is a case of just keep going till you're happy. And in this case, it took me, like I say, a good couple of attempts to get them in, get them rested in. And then it's a case of just going through, trying not to drop the bolt inside the engine casing. You're then going to have to turn it around at least, well, at least 180, because on each one of those cogs there's two bolts, one, 180 degrees apart. So you're going to have to do them in hand tight only, turn it 180, do the other two, and then I then did it, stage by stage, doing them up to torque, which, if I remember correctly, on a voiceover, was something like twice the torque that is on the journal housing brackets. It's then moving on to the chain tensioner, so it's, and I'm pretty sure I didn't do this last time, it's moving it away from top dead center and onto the mark that says C on the timing plate, and then jobs are good. It then leads you on, and we can now start doing the valve spacing or valve checking. So I have written down what they were before, so it's a case of getting the lobe at 90 degrees from the face of the valve itself, as you can see there on exhaust 1. So you do have we should have a physical gap between the lowest point of the lobe and the actual valve shim itself. And it's as simple as jamming in a guide to see what you end up with. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is for the in the book. 1.6, I think. So 0.16, 0.20, I think, off the top of my head. I can't quite remember. But it's really a case of seeing what you can do, what you can get, and going round each valve in turn and just measuring off as you go. Always write them down. Keep a scrappy bit of paper with all your information written around you. As long as you can read it and you can decipher it, it's less of a problem. I'd make it neater if you're trying to do it over a period of weekends like I did, in case you have to decipher what you've written beforehand. And excuse me. And then just work out what you can get in, what you can't, what you can get in with ease, and you really want to go to your largest gauge that you can find that will go in, you know, without buckling as much as anything else. So you should feel some tension against it. Bloody focus! I am going to have to change this app to get it right. So that is exhaust 1. So I'm scribbling on a piece of paper what the gap is in this case, 0.102. Then looking at the book, it looks a bit daunting, frankly, because it's a big table, and yeah, non-engineers aren't happy with big tables like myself. But it's done quite neatly, and I'll zoom in a second. Effectively, across the top there, you've got existing shim size, i.e. what's in there. Installed pad number, so existing side, and down the side, measured clearance. So I had a 265, I've measured at 0.11 something. I should have a 260 in there as an example. And then it's just a case of scribbling against each one and making sure you don't lose it as much as anything else. And you'll see that mine are out. That's not surprising because I've got a different camshaft on there. I've got a different cylinder head as well. So the fact that it's close at all is useful more than anything else. So there we go. I know what I need. I've got a massive stash of shims from 2 heads and a bit of eBay purchasing beforehand as well. eBay, I think so. So I'm going to leave it as that. This evening's activity is going to work out what I've got and what I need. Hopefully I'll have what I need. Actually, by this point, I know I've got what I need, so I don't need to do any more shopping. Previously, I've whipped all the cams off to change all of the heads together. This time I'll be using the tool and doing them individually for the next upload. Cheers.